Well, not that hard anymore.
Not that hard, no.
Yeah.
I went to the dentist today. I'm in good shape.
Hi.
Howdy.
I'm going to scoot this up a bit. We're having a hard time seeing everybody. How's your day going?
Pretty amazing, thanks.
Good. Okay.
My name's Rick. West Shore Community Association. How's that, Bob?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the candidate forum for City Council for District 1 in the City of Sacramento. I'm Lisa Prey. I'm on the Board of Directors here at Heritage Park, and I'd like to welcome representatives from the Natomas Buzz, the League of Women Voters, and of course our candidates. Thank you so much for coming this evening. One of the sponsors of the event is the Natomas Buzz, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it was founded in 2008 by Brandy Boyd, who unfortunately can't be with us this evening, but it's an online journal that just tells you, if you want to know something that's happening in Natomas, both north and south, you'll find it on the Natomas Buzz at natomasbuzz.com. Also, if you're on Facebook or any of the other social medias, there is a Facebook page for the Natomas Buzz as well. Last month, the Natomas Buzz recorded 126 page views, 126,000 page views, excuse me, and has more than 33,000 followers on social media. So they're well placed here. And introducing this evening our representatives from the Natomas Buzz, we have Nancy.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to resolve some of the feedback. I'm told I could move the podium and it'll work. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Vasquez, and I'm standing in tonight for Brandy Boyd of the Natomas Buzz. Last week, unfortunately, Brandy tested positive for COVID. She has remained quarantined for several days, but this afternoon she still tested positive and cannot be here tonight. So we are her representatives this evening. As Lisa said, the Natomas Buzz is an online community website which also has a robust following on several social media platforms. The Buzz covers the area west of Steelhead Creek, from Garden Highway north to the county line. And as a result of redistricting, Natomas is now represented by 2 seats on this Sacramento City Council. Tonight's candidate forum is an opportunity for the community to meet all 4 candidates running to represent District 1, and questions were submitted by the community leading up to tonight's forum. Forum attendees in the room tonight will have a chance to submit questions. So in the very back corner, right by the entrance of when you walked in, there are these yellow cards. There are also some index cards that you can use. You do not need to put your name on here. So once you're done with your question, simply just hold it up and someone will come and collect it from you. So thank you to the Heritage Park Homeowners for co-hosting this evening. I would like to now introduce tonight's moderator, Paula Lee, with the League of Women's Voter of Sacramento County.
Hi, everyone. And I, too, want to welcome you to this candidate forum for District 1. As you know, the forum is sponsored by the Natomas Buzz, another commercial. I call them the go-to online news for Natomas, and also the Heritage Park Homeowners Association. It's also going to be live streamed on YouTube, and it's being recorded. So it will also be rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14 before the election. I didn't know if you candidates knew that. I'm Paula Lee, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County. I'll be the moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization of women and men. We work at all levels of government, national, state, and local, and we encourage the informed and active participation of citizens like you in government. So that's what we're doing here tonight. Civic engagement. The League does not support or oppose political candidates or parties. And although we do not endorse or oppose candidates, we are a political organization, as I said. And so we do, after careful study, take positions on ballot measures and on legislation with our advocacy arm. You can find our positions during the general election season. Our positions on ballot measures are on our website. And we invite you to join us if you're interested in public policy. So tonight, the format will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 2-minute opening statement. And the reason we let them introduce themselves to you is for neutrality purposes. Someone might think if I was introducing the candidates, the way I did it just wasn't quite fair. And so we have these opening statements so they can introduce themselves to you and say a little bit about their candidacy. Then the candidates will also respond to questions that were submitted in advance by community members, and audience members will have a chance to submit questions, as you heard. So, as you heard, raise your hand if you have a question, and someone will pick it up. This format really conforms to our league policies for a fair and an unbiased, nonpartisan forum. The goal tonight is to cover the issues that are of importance to you in the Natomas community in District 1. And we also ask that you hold any applause until the end, just because it allows us to get more questions in. Okay. Now, we drew for speaking order, another way that we do fairness. We're going to begin with the candidates going this way, and what we do is we rotate who answers the question first. So tonight we'll begin with opening remarks from Lisa and Kaplan. Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Kaplan. I grew up in a small town in Oregon where my mom and my grandmother instilled in me that it was important for me to keep my word, give back, and make a difference in the community. And I have been doing that ever since. In 2000, I graduated from McGeorge School of Law and joined Natomas Rotary. Through Natomas Rotary, I met somebody who asked me to run for school board. I met with people and they said, you're too young, don't run, you can't win. I sit here today, 20 years later, as an accomplished school board member on behalf of our children, and the top vote getter with every election that I have run. So for 20 years, people have been telling me, no, it's not your time. But guess what? Yes, I can, and yes, we will, and yes, I've led. As school board president during the pandemic, I led Natomas. We fed our kids, we got them Wi-Fi, we got them Chromebooks, we expanded Joey's food locker and fed our families. We kept our community safe, we expanded safety measures, we created a vaccination clinic and a healthcare clinic. And Natomas Unified was actually the first school district in Sacramento County to fully reopen to get our kids back in-person learning. I am 20 years as a public servant, and I'm still facing those who tell me, no, you can't. But as your councilwoman, yes, I can. Yes, I can increase public safety. Yes, I can reinvest in our small businesses. Yes, I can build a coalition to address homelessness and invest in our youth and expand sports. That's why I'm supported by the firefighters, Supervisor Phil Cerna, council members Eric Guerra, Rick Jennings, school board trustee Susan Heredia. As your councilwoman, I will build a diverse coalition of individuals to address our most pressing issues. That's what I've done as a school board member, a mom, a PTA member, a Girl Scout leader, and an attorney. And I would be honored if I could earn your vote here at Heritage Park and to those watching online. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I failed to mention that our lead volunteer timer is right in front. You probably noticed. And she has the 30-second card, so you have, you know when you have about 30 seconds to go, and then you saw the stop sign.
Can you speak in the microphone better? Because we could barely hear her from over here.
Me or them?
Them.
Oh.
So sorry, we hear so much feedback up here, so thank you for that.
Yes, yes. Please mention if that's an issue. So, obviously, you can finish your sentence if you see the stop sign, but just be aware of that. Okay. Your opening statement, Nate Pelczar.
Very good. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Great. Okay. Well, I want to start by thanking League of Women Voters and Natomas Buzz, two invaluable organizations to our community. They both have long and storied histories of supporting community, which is extremely important to me, and I know it's important to you too. Nate Pelczar, running for Sacramento City Council District 1, hoping to replace Angelique Ashby, our current vice mayor and city council member. It's wonderful that I have her strong support and endorsement. It's very, very important to me to have earned that. I also have the strong support and endorsement of former Mayor Heather Fargo, former City Council member Ray Trethaway. That's about 30 years of District 1 leadership that has decided to strongly support me and endorse me and stand in my camp. Very honored and grateful to have that. I also have the strong support of Senator Pan, whose family is in this community, and even Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones. In addition to SAC Dems and Natomas Dems. Now, each of these organizations and each of these individuals, they've decided to support me because they know who I am, and they know about my long history of volunteer work and service to the Natomas and City. They also know who I'm running against, and they know about the value that I'll add to Sacramento City Council once I'm elected. I'm running for City Council because of my strong and deep commitment to the community. You know, my dad taught me at a very early age the importance of lifting others up and giving back to the community. Even though I was born and raised in the Rust Belt in a very poor town, you know, he taught me the importance of finding those around you who have less and help them get what they need and help them grow and thrive. So that's the approach I've taken to my involvement in every community that I've ever lived. That certainly includes Natomas. I also want to mention that I'm qualified. I've got the skills and abilities that will allow me to hit the ground running on City Council on day one. You know, I've spent much of the last 17 years as a project manager, as a budget analyst, as a management consultant, and I'm honored to be here this evening. Thank you so much. I would be honored to have your support.
Robert Alvis.
Howdy, my name is Robert Alvis. I'm running for City Council. This will be the first time I've ever ran for anything in my life. I've been in the entertainment industry in Sacramento for almost 20 years, starting at Harlow's on J Street. Most recently, I operate the Crest Theater in Sacramento. The reason I'm running is I ran out of reasons that I couldn't run. I look out the front windows of my business and I see shuttered doors that will never reopen, with the businesses that were around me that are gone. At one point during the pandemic, 23 of the 27 closest businesses to mine shut down. At this point, many of them will never return. What I want to do is bring a thriving environment back to the heartbeat of Sacramento. Because what's happening here is many people from District 1 will take their money and they'd rather drive over to Roseville along with their tax revenue because they don't feel safe in Sacramento. And I don't blame them. When I leave here, I'm headed to work, headed to the Crest. When I get out of my car, I'm going to walk by addicts, drug dealers, open lawlessness on the streets that must come to an end. No businesses can thrive in such an environment where people will not come down to. I am not a politician. I have not been endorsed by anyone other than the people who have told me, you know what, Robert, it's time for you to stop talking about doing something and actually going out there and doing something. So that's my goal. If you think things are going well in Sacramento, do not vote for me. That's not something you hear from most people. But if you think like I do, that there needs to be changes and they need to happen quickly, then you will consider me as a candidate, and I will appreciate that. Thank you.
Alyssa Lozano.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see so many familiar faces here, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Alyssa Lozano. I've lived in this community for over 40 years. I've been blessed to be involved with the growth of this community. This community is my home, my family's home, and we need a council member who is not just making a pit stop in our community, but who is deeply rooted and understands the needs of our community firsthand. That's me. Public safety is personal to me. 3 weeks before my high school graduation, my best friend was raped and murdered by the janitor. I was 17 years old. I found myself talking to news reporters, demanding answers from the school board, and also testifying in front of the state senate, which was instrumental in passing a law that was called the Michelle Montoya School Safety Act. This made me grow up very fast. My husband and I got married, had a baby, and we bought our first home, all at the age of 19. I've been in the real estate industry for over 25 years. This is why I also joined the Natomas Chamber of Commerce, where I am currently the president. I have focused on building relationships and bringing people together. I also do my part to make sure that I share with the community everything that I know and that I hear for the community. I'm collaborating with the Natomas Unified School District to roll out a youth workforce program this June. Our youth will learn vital skills. As a business owner and leader in our community, I have the infrastructure know and the heart to get things done while prioritizing our actual community. To their senior community, the baseball and soccer moms like I was for many years, our youth and small business owners, the essential workers who are the lifeblood of our community. I see you and I hear you. When you elect me as your council member, I promise I will work my hardest to make our streets safer and also promote smart growth and create more jobs for our community. I am from our community and for our community 100%.
Thank you. Okay, first question for Nate. What are your plans and all the candidates?
Paula, excuse me. How long do they get to answer the question? You never told me.
It's on that little piece of paper. 1.5 minutes. Sorry. And the closing is 1 minute.
Sorry.
So 90 seconds. It doesn't seem like that long, does it? But actually, we have determined that candidates that can be succinct and they can do it. And candidates, I'll tell you, if you need more time, you can. We'll give you a little more time, or it's not that strict. It's just that we have found 1.5 minutes usually works pretty well. So we'll see how it goes. Nate, what are your plans to address the housing shortage in Sacramento? And do you support upzoning and the addition of ADUs, additional dwelling units?
Yeah, that's certainly one of the biggest issues we face here in Sacramento. We've seen just a tremendous population boom, and we've seen housing prices just shoot through the roof. In fact, it's out of the reach of many folks in our community, and we just simply don't have the housing stock. If you look at the houses for sale right now, they're at a record low or near it, and the prices we're charging for homes these days is just extraordinary. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the supply that the city needs so that folks have options when it comes time to move from a rental to their own home. And we need all different types of housing. We need single-family houses, duplexes, quadplexes, condos. We need diversity, but we need high-quality housing. And I think District 1 truly is uniquely situated just because of where we are in the county and the open space that we have to help address this problem, to help solve this problem in Sacramento and Sacramento County too. So what I would recommend doing is working with the developers and working with the housing agencies in Sacramento to help develop the supply and to make sure that the folks that might not have the means to buy a house right now are given the opportunity to enjoy assistance with the house purchasing process. I think the combination of those two things would certainly help attack that problem. There are some systematic issues that need to be dealt with that are slowing this down, but I do think that those are two of the big things that need to be done at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Robert.
Yeah, so this yesterday was actually the 1-year anniversary of my wife and I closing on our house here in District 1. Prior to that, we lived in Midtown at an apartment. The house buying journey was not all that fun. We do need more housing. We do need more single-family homes, and we need them to be affordable. A lot of my friends are unable, as they said, unable to even enter the market, and so they stay in these places where they are renting, essentially buying a home for someone else. And what we need to do, I think, is look at buildings and say, what is this building doing? Especially now, after the pandemic, when we have figured out that a lot of folks don't need office space. And can some of that office space be turned into housing? Right behind, on the other side of the alley from my job, there was a abandoned building that had been there for 20 years plus. It was a sewing machine fixing place. I don't know how many of you guys have gone over there, but they weren't fixing sewing machines, and there was no one living there. Fortunately, now they're building apartments. They're building multi-use, so it'll be businesses on the bottom, 7 stories of apartments above. And this is what we need more of in our city. Remove buildings that are no longer useful and put housing in their place.
Alyssa?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Yes, sure. What are your plans to address the housing shortage in Sacramento? And do you support upzoning and the addition of ADUs, which are additional dwelling units?
Thank you. So housing is one of the most pressing issues that our city faces today. And as a local realtor, I will tell you that I think about this constantly. The sad truth of the matter is that we have a housing shortage that of over 153,000 homes, which is driving up the cost over 20% more than last year. And rent is not going down soon. So I get frustrated when I hear that people who have called Sacramento home for many years tell me that they may no longer be able to afford in Sacramento. It's frustrating. We can do better as a city. What I would say is I would call for a greater focus for a regional plan, and I would see if all branches of government can help us. We need to start working together. As far as upzoning in ADUs, in Natomas, we have a lot of zero lot land homes, and I don't know that we would have that ability to do that here. And so I think as a greater Sacramento, that's where we also need to start looking at. But I think I am open to any conversation, and I'm open to what does our community want. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
I bought my house in 2001. I was young, working. I had just finished law school. I was working in the legislature, not making much money. But I was able to afford my little 917 square foot house because there were incentives for first-time homeowners. We need to do that now here in Sacramento. Alyssa is right. The SACOG region says we have 153 houses of a shortage in our need. But the city of Sacramento actually needs 45,000 additional units. And guess what? 24,000 of those units are already in the works. They already have the plans, they're in the pipelines, and Natomas is doing its part. That's where we have Greenbrier is coming online. It's 2,100 residences, over 547 residential units, and affordable senior rental units that are guaranteed, deed restricted, lower income. The Panhandle is in its process, and it plans 1,662 dwelling units, 18 acres of parks, and 36 acres of parkways and elementary school. They're paying fees into the housing unit. And guess what? I'm a school board member. I know all about ENIC that's over there. I know the superintendent. I know the board members. My job as an attorney is I work with school districts to build schools. That's something I can help fix to help our blighted community. That's why I have the support of the Sacramento Realtors. They know that I'll be able to be an advocate for housing and getting things done. I support the ADU plan that the city has already adopted, and I support the regional plan and the 8-year housing plan that the city just adopted in December of last year. We just need to implement it now.
Thank you. Okay, we'll begin this question with Robert. In your literature, you all have mentioned very similar priorities for District 1. What is one specific proposal that you have to address your goals, and what is your timeline to implement the plan?
Yeah, I think if you listen to me up here, you're going to hear a lot about safety of the citizens. We can't operate a good community if people do not feel safe. One of my priorities would be to bring more police officers to this area, which is currently being, Sacramento County sheriffs have taken on a lot of the burden of this area. And you don't see the patrols in the way that you do in other parts of the town. And I think that needs to change. I think there should be a stronger police presence on the streets in District 1. I think we should bring a police substation closer to this area as this area continues to expand. We all just spoke about more housing coming on track here in Natomas because we have the space to do it. Well, along with that comes more people. And as we grow as a community, we also need to grow out those services that will keep everyone safe and thank you.
Alyssa?
Yes, thank you. So, how do you choose just one, right? But Robert is right. Safety has to be our first priority. A great city is a safe city, and that is a priority of mine. My father was in law enforcement growing up. I know law enforcement right now. We have to stand up and take care of our law enforcement. We need to grow. Right now they have 84 vacancies. That's a problem. That is a problem. They have the same number allotted for officers that they had 10 years ago. Do you know how much our city has grown? A lot. I hear every day when I am going out there knocking on doors about why don't we ever see any police officers out here? That's a problem. And so we as leadership need to step up. I will step up and I will support our law enforcement. But again, how do you choose just one priority? Our infrastructure is failing us as well. And so we need to step up and we need to take care of our infrastructure as well. There's a lot of other issues I'm sure that we'll address more. I will tell you it's hard to just choose one priority. I believe that we, and I as a council member, will put together a task force to really, it's not about me and what I want, but what do you want? What do you want as my constituents? I will listen to what your needs are and what your priorities are. That's what a council member does.
Lisa?
Thank you. I think everybody's right so far. We have to look at public safety and we have to look at investments. So one of the things that's a priority of mine is I've spent 20 years as a school board member because I believe we have a responsibility to educate our kids and make them college and career ready. We talk about gun violence. Well, we need to invest more in our youth. What do you get with me as a council member? You get the partnerships that I've already created. Natomas Unified donated $10 million to help create the Aquatic Center. We've created a free healthcare clinic for our community that the city and the county need to expand on. I think we need North Natomas for our youth. Do you know that we do not have a lighted facility for those who play soccer? That's something I will bring in. But also we have to look at, like, our fire stations are horribly understaffed. I have spent time at Station 30 and 43 and went on an ambulance call downtown to Sutter, downtown. Both of North Natomas ambulances were there. We are lacking an additional 8 to 10 ambulances. If you have a heart attack, ambulances are coming from other areas to help provide that support. Plus, they're browning out stations around the city 3 to 4 per week. We can't have safe communities unless we have our firefighters there, if we have ambulances staffed, and they're burning out because they're on mandatory overtime. So as a councilwoman, I understand it's about the we, not an I, and I need to convince 5 other council members to join me. That's why sitting council members Eric Guerra and Rick Jennings are supporting me, because they want to join and we need to partner to better things for the city. Thank you.
Nate?
It might sound a little bit like a broken record after listening to these 3 responses, but clearly, after listening to you, after knocking on hundreds of doors and having hundreds of conversations with folks much like you, the top priority is public safety. The primary purpose of Sacramento government is to make sure that we're safe, to provide the services that make us feel safe, to make sure that everyone feels safe in our community, and to provide us with the fire coverage and police coverage we need. We don't have that. You've heard the statistics from the others. I am the only person on this panel that has been endorsed by the Sacramento Police Officers Association. And the reason why is because they know of my level of involvement in the community. They know about my commitment to making sure and my ability to build consensus on City Council to ensure that we get the funding that they need to get the staff to provide us with those essential services that we hold so dear and near to our hearts. So just wanted to share that with you. I don't think it's worth repeating some of the stats we've heard, but I do want to mention this. On average, we typically do have just 1 police patrol up in Natomas. If something bad happens in the city, that 1 patrol is pulled away. This situation is just absurd. The city's grown, and the resources that we're allocating to public safety, the most important service, they're just not there. So I will work hard. I will build consensus on Sacramento City Council to get the public service and public safety services that we need. Thank you.
Okay, this question for Alyssa. Great leaders have great teams. Please describe what your District 1 team would look like if you are elected and why you would choose those team members.
Well, I will tell you, at this moment, I've really just been focusing on winning a race, right? We have phenomenal candidates running here, and I will tell you that the fact that we've all stepped up is a great thing. But it is important, and I have thought about it. Obviously, we have a chief of staff. I will have a chief of staff. And I've asked a person who's currently a chief of staff for a senator. She's also a planning commissioner for the county. That's important. But I think the biggest part of my team would be the advisory groups and the appointments from you guys. Because it's not about me. It's not about my team. It's about you guys as a community. That's what's most important here. That's why I sit up here today. Because as a council member, local government is so important. We can get things done at the local level. Angelique proved it with the Aquatic Center. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful. And I know we can get things done, but if we don't have the right person in the seat who truly is not using this as a political stepping stone, then we can be in trouble. So I urge you guys, vote for me because I am here for you. Thank you.
Lisa?
Team, that is all about getting things done. For 20 years as a school board member, I've served with other elected officials who've seen things differently, and we have to find ways to collaborate to get things done. And that's what I do in running my race. I have a team. I, Lisa Kaplan, am out here and supposed to talk to you and the voters, but it's teamwork. I am not where I am because of just me. It's my team that is built of a majority of women. I believe in diversity. And I believe as a councilwoman, we have to listen. And when I'm elected, it's about asking those who are interested in the job, one, interviewing, but also going to our HOAs, going to our community groups, and asking, do you know somebody who's really good and really involved? And bringing up the next generation. That's what I did with Mariana Corona Sabieno, who's our next SCOE school board member, who I asked to run in 2018, and she said no. And ran in 2020 for Natomas School Board, didn't win, but she ran this year and was elected as our SCOE representative. I have a history of building relationships and building teams. That's how we have to do things. You have to build teams where there's a diversity of opinion, diversity of thought, and diversity of ages to make things happen to address our community. Because just like our schools, our community is diverse, and Natomas is the second most diverse district in the United States. So you need to build a team that reflects our community and reflects what we look like. Thank you.
Nate?
That's a great question. You know, I'm looking around and seeing what I've been able to accomplish over the last 17 years since graduating from grad school. You know, I'm very fortunate. I'd like to take credit for a lot of that, but it's truly because of those that were around me and were able to help me help myself. You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about who will be in my team, but I'm very fortunate to recognize that we've been very well served by the team that we have now in District 1. Vice Mayor Ashby's been able to accomplish some absolutely amazing things. We've actually grown a community here in Natomas over the last 10 to 20 years, and part of that reason is because of the amazing team that Angelique Ashby has built. And I've spoken to each and every member of that team, and they have, each and every one of them have agreed to stay on and to serve me as city councilman and to serve on a team together. I'm very proud of that. It's an incredibly diverse team, very well educated and very well experienced. They are the ones that are responsible for some of the amazing programmatic work that you see out here every week. The Natomas Farmers Market, you know, the activities that we have over at some local businesses, the Santa Parade, you know, the list goes on. These are wonderful things that truly bring the community together, and I'm very proud that each and every staff member has agreed to stay with me once elected to Sacramento City Council. Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, when I left Harlow's in 2019, I brought part of the staff over with me. And I think that's a testament that everywhere I've gone, I've accounted about myself as a decent leader, you know, and people tend to want to come with me when I go to something else. This would be no different. I work with the people I trust. I work with the people that challenge me. My best friend in the whole world and I disagree on almost everything, but we still make it work. So if I'm building a team, I'm looking for people who challenge me, who challenge my thoughts, who, when I come up with an idea, they tell me why it won't work, and that's how you get ideas that do work. I'm very well connected in the business community, and I will bring those people on that are the doers in Sacramento, the people who go out and get it done. You know, when we reopened after COVID, we just opened. We got the word, hey, you're allowed to be open, and we opened that day. We opened to 10 customers. The next day, we opened to 5 customers. But we stayed open because the people I surround myself are doers. We want to get everything done, and we want the community then to see us as people who are giving them a return on their investment, which is their tax dollars. And that's how I look at the city government.
Okay, this question will begin with Lisa. How will you address criticism and be transparent with your constituents, even when they disagree with your decisions?
Does anybody know what it's like to be a school board member nowadays? I have served for 20 years. My job is to listen. I may disagree with those who show up to our school board meeting, but my job is to sit and listen and see if we can find a middle ground. Now, I'm not going to sit and listen when you threaten violence, which has happened on the Natomas School Board. So I know what it's like to have your life threatened and the Proud Boys to find out that you're Jewish and try and come after you and expose your children onto the internet and retweet that so that they don't feel that they're safe. But I also was taught by my grandma, if I'm not going to stand up to stop this, who will? So it's a fine balance. I'm an attorney. We agree to disagree all the time. It's my training for the past 22 years. I serve on a board right now where we don't agree philosophically, but guess what we just did? We just agreed 5-0 on a new mission and a new vision. And we've listened to people who've disagreed with us on vaccination, on masking, on requirements. So my job is to listen and see if we can find that solution, and I've been doing that for 20 years. I have a history. You can watch me online, how it happens on the school board meetings, and that's the same person I'm going to be as a city council member, so thank you.
Nate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Looking back at my work experience for the last 17 years, most of it I've spent as a government consultant and a business consultant, working for directly the government, providing services to state and local and federal clients. And what allowed me to be so successful was my ability to listen, to be diplomatic. I'm the kind of person who likes to listen more than I speak. I like to, I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a numbers guy. I'm very cerebral, and I like to listen in and hear what they're saying and read between the lines and see what else they're saying, and then formulate a response and make sure that not only their wants are addressed, but also their needs, right? They really have an underlined issue that they're trying to deal with, and it's important for me to understand really what they're saying and what they're trying to communicate through other means of communication. I read something recently over the pandemic. I started reading quite a bit about the Stoics, and one of the books that I recently read, they mentioned that everything we do in life is either an expression of love or a cry for love, and it really hit home, and it really helps frame how I look at the world and how I would react and act as your city council person. I want you to know that I will be very open-minded, and I will listen, and I will be diplomatic, and I will do everything I can to make sure that my community is heard and the services they need are provided. Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, in my experience, again, I worked in the front door of Harlow's for 15 years. The front door is the gatekeeper on who can come in and who can't. I've had a lot of people disagree with me, is a way of saying it. I've been verbally, physically assaulted at different times. I've been shot at my job. So the idea that I couldn't stand up and listen to someone who disagrees with me in a civic way it doesn't seem like that big of a task for me. I will disagree with a lot of people who are already on the city council. I don't make any bones about that. If I'm sent to city council, I'm not going there to make friends. There's a reason why I'm running for city council. I could just run my business and be fine, but I'm propelled to do this because what I see is not working. So it's not necessarily how am I going to take people who disagree with me, but there's no voice on the city council that disagrees with them. The city council is made up of a lot of the people with a lot of the same opinions about a lot of topics. And there needs to be a new voice to reprioritize where we're putting the taxpayer on the list of priorities. We need to put them first. Taxpayers first, everyone else comes second.
Lisa?
I know I'm going to ask you a lot because I want to make sure I'm answering your questions to the whole list. Can you repeat the question just so I know that?
It's not a problem at all. How will you address criticism and be transparent with your constituents, even when they disagree with your decisions?
Thank you. Okay, so growing up, my father was a police officer, and he was actually one of the first gang officers for Sacramento Police Department. We've had officers sit outside of our house multiple times And that was me as a child. You know, there were many death threats. And at the end of the day, that's what happens. Every time I met with a current council member now, they said, why would you want to do this? You know, and a lot of that is because of what they get. So knowing that this happens, I'm still up here because it matters that much. I'm not afraid for somebody to say that they don't agree with me or that they don't like the choice or the decision, or that I didn't make the decision that they wanted. It's not about that. You know, we're not always going to agree, but I will tell you, I will never walk out of a meeting, ever. As an elected official, I will sit and listen, no matter if I'm threatened or no matter if we just disagree. I am there to listen to you. And, you know, that's important. So, again, you know, I just want to make sure that everyone knows I'm not a politician here. And, you know, I truly am up here because of you guys. I really think that we need to make sure that we have someone who is going to sit and listen and do what is in the best interest of our community. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nate, you're first this time. And you can see why we have 90-minute answers. I mean, 90 seconds. because we want to get in a lot of questions. And so let me remind you, you could take your full minute and a half, but if you can do it in less time, we get in more questions. So, you know, take it if you need it, though. Okay, this one's for Nate. This is the last one before we go to some audience questions. What are your plans for District 1 regarding safety and security? But specifically, how do you propose addressing nuisance crimes such as car and mailbox break-ins, porch pirates, and sideshows?
Yeah, well, we've seen huge upticks in each and every one of those over the last couple of years. You know, as I mentioned earlier, the reason why I've been endorsed by the Sacramento Police Officers Association is because I am committed to making sure that we here in District 1 get the resources that we need to combat those types of issues. You know, the sideshows, the mailbox bashings. I mean, who here enjoys paying $3,500 plus to replace the mailbox? I certainly don't. You know, we've done this a number of times over in my community, and I know it's been done here too. It's extremely important that we address this issue, and I think the best way to get these issues minimized is to get more patrols out in Natomas, and to make sure that we have more communication between the police department and the community groups that we know and love here in Natomas. Community policing is certainly an option as well that needs to be considered and reviewed with the police. So there are a number of things that we can do, and the Police Officers Association knows that I'm committed to doing it, and they know that my skills and abilities as somebody who's worked as a management consultant and has worked with feisty elected officials in the past, some of the biggest executives from some of our biggest companies in the U.S., and I've gotten them over the line, and I'm able to build that same consensus on Sacramento City Council, and I plan to do exactly that to preserve public safety and improve public safety in District 1. Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, I think when we were talking earlier about our priorities, I think we all kind of landed in a similar space that there does need to be more of a police presence here in District 1. But it goes beyond that. I think in order for a community to thrive, the people in that community have to feel as if their voice is being heard, as if they are part of the community. You're less likely to break into your own mailbox than you are somebody who's a stranger. And I think what happens is a lot of times in this neighborhood, people come home, they go inside, and then that's it. Do we know our neighbors? Do we talk to our neighbors? Are there enough community events to introduce ourselves to the people then who would be the victims of a potential crime? And I think if we expand the community events at our parks, we have a beautiful park service up here. We have multiple parks. If we expand our community events, the people in the community are less likely to do the nuisance crimes, especially the window breaking, the mailbox break-ins, and those kind of things, because they would feel part of the community. They would feel as if they're harming someone they know. They're harming potentially a friend. And I think what we have is a little bit of isolationism in our homes right now that we should combat by getting everyone together post-pandemic to levels that it was pre-pandemic. I think a lot of people became comfortable staying inside just for safety, and now we need to be able to draw them back outside to create a community where everyone feels as if they're part of it.
Alyssa?
Hi, yes. Okay, so I will say that I've had my mailbox broken into, and it's awful. You didn't get mail for 2 weeks. It was terrible. And I see it all around us in Natomas Park. And so this is something that needs to be addressed. I will tell you, I host a lot of events with our police department. And every single time they say, report it. You have to report it. And not just have one person on our block report it, but every single person that has a box there, report it. And the reason why is because I, as your council member, can advocate to Congressman Matsui so that way we can get funds to have our mailboxes upgraded, to get the new ones, the more secure ones. Those are things and resources that we can do. I will advocate for state and federal funding for anything that we need. What about LPR readers, the license plate camera readers? Having those, I can tell you, a homeowners association, as a chamber president, I bring in all these different groups and I listen to what works in their community, and I will take it and use it in other communities. I will advocate for funds for license plate readers. Public safety is a huge issue. You already know where I stand when it comes to more officers. We need them, without a doubt. And we need to support our law enforcement.
Lisa?
I am the only one here on this stage who has actually hired a police officer. We've invested in our schools, and we have school resource officers to create relationships. We have to develop our children and create relationships. I know our SRO officers, I have their cell phones, I talk to them. Because here's the thing, with gun violence and addressing safety, we really have to look at how do we prevent it. And Chief Lester's violence prevention program has a lot about investing in our use and evidence-based community violence interventions. Increased summer employment opportunities. We have tons that we have going on in Natomas with our communities. Our building trades, we have kids getting out and building houses and earning skills. We created in Natomas a public safety pathway that is connecting our students to police officers and firefighters to get into the industry. We need more, not necessarily officers, but community resource officers. When I'm out talking to voters, they ask, how do we handle these break-ins? Well, we need individuals responsible in Natomas that will go after the porch pirates. Because you and I both know if you've ever raised a kid, if they can get away with it, they will. Our porch pirates know they're getting away with it. We need somebody to hold them accountable. And that's why I get this. I minored in criminal justice with alcohol and drug addiction. I've taught in our prisons. I've worked with prisoners. I have hired SRO officers, and I'm the one that can partner the closest with our school district to address this increased safety in our community. Thank you.
Nate?
Yeah, I think I already answered this question. I think we started here. I've got more to say on that topic, but we'll let that one go.
I'm an attorney. I can start again.
I will say something really quick, though, just to kind of touch on what Lisa had mentioned. So I was a police dispatcher when I was 18 years old. And so, I want to make that known also. But also, starting in our schools, we need to actually address the problems that are happening in our schools. Let's be proactive and not reactive also. And let's stop hiding at things that happen in our schools under the carpet.
Okay, Robert, what are your top 3 concerns about how North Natomas will develop in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, the number one concern for any growing community is the speed in which we we are growing. If we grow too fast, and then we lose, we've already spoken about the lack of resources that this community has, will only get stretched thinner. You have to have the resources in place to then allow you to grow. If we have one police dispatch now, and we add 10,000 people to the neighborhood, that one person gets, one unit gets stretched even further. So the number one priority is making sure that we're growing at a speed that is sustainable to us. That we make sure that we are keeping up our services with the speed in which we're growing. Making sure there's grocery stores, enough grocery stores to house people, because no one likes going to a grocery store and standing behind 10 other people in line, and that number only goes up as you build up if you don't build those other places along with it. The number two concern is, is District 1 being seen as the outermost parts of Sacramento? I grew up in Antelope, which is not part of Sacramento. It's not its own city. It's considered, it's just out there. And I feel a little bit of that here. I have my business in downtown, and then I live out here, and I've seen over the last year that it's almost a little bit of an afterthought how far away we are. So we need to make sure that we are part of the conversation at City Hall.
Alyssa?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What are your top 3 concerns about how North Natomas will develop in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I will tell you, I think we have grown very fast. I've actually had a front row seat of that. And it's extremely concerning that we're talking about projects that are going to go in. I'm concerned with the Panhandle. I'm not sure if everyone knows where that is. If you don't, feel free to talk with me about it later. But the Panhandle and having more homes come in, and the homes going through Club Center. They just put a school, or they're building a school there in Club Center. Our infrastructure can't handle very many homes. We need to focus on expanding Alcorn to 4 lanes, putting, a divider in, making sure that there's proper biking as well there. This is a huge problem. It's extremely concerning the way that our infrastructure is now. And not to mention, though, the proposed project for Innovation Park, where the sleep train is. That's a proposed project. If the current council member, the council member cannot see that project through, it's proposed. We rezone that area. Someone could put housing in there. That would be terrible for our community. So it is important that we elect someone who can see these projects through, because right now they're proposed, and if we don't get the right person in there who truly will do the best job for our community, then the integrity of our community will be in jeopardy. So, thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you. So I think a lot of what we're talking about is concerns with infrastructure and how do we grow. Many people don't realize when the flood moratorium hit us in 2008, we had built houses and all the amenities were coming. But for 8 years, Natomas couldn't build any amenities and infrastructure. So we need to finish connecting all of our bike trails. We have phenomenal bike trails, but they're not connected. We need to really look at traffic calming measures, because why should it just be downtown? Why can't Natomas be a place that we can live, work, and play? How do you address climate change, get cars off the road? Start making communities where people can live there, work there, and have amenities and play there. We need to look at how we address our parks and are they safe? We also need to make sure we're investing in our small businesses. Well, I think it's wonderful Costco is here. You know what I love? I love Maestro Coffee, Oshima Sushi, Bean Heads, Chop Cafe. They're individually owned by people who live here that I know we want to support. So one of the things that I also do, and we've created on the Natomas School Board, are safe routes to school. I am actually a Natomas Jive Safe Routes to School leader where parents drop their kids off with me and I walk them into school and scan them to make sure that they safely get in. And the parents know that we need to expand these community partnerships so that we can have amenities, we can address traffic, but we also are valuing our open space because we love getting outside and need to connect. That's why I'm supported by the Sacramento Chamber and our small businesses, as well as the building trades who build everything that we are participating and taking part in. Thank you.
Nate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Tough to answer in 90 seconds, but so 3 things that I'll focus on. Public safety, of course, is at the top of my list, and as somebody who's seen the city grow, the population has just skyrocketed and hasn't seen the growth in public safety support services, that's a travesty. I think we talked about that quite a bit, so I'll skip to the next one, which is economic development. And I'll frame it by saying we need to make sure that the economic development that we have and we see in the coming decade or two is smart development. You know, the most successful cities are those that have the right mix of residential, commercial, industrial. And the rapid growth out here in District 1, it's been piecemeal, it's been spotty, it hasn't been done in a way that's truly sustainable. As a numbers guy, as somebody who has a constant eye on the bottom line, it's important for us to develop in a way that's economically sustainable, that the developments that we come up with and implement and build actually pay for themselves from a tax perspective. So I think that's a very important point too. Another point that I want to talk a bit about is our ability of the public school system to keep up. You know, Natomas Unified School District has grown tremendously over the years, but it's been a very rocky road. Bankruptcy, very low school ratings.
We were never bankrupt, please keep to the facts.
Near bankruptcy. It was very risky. SCOE was involved, and you know, when you go into oversight from the county board, you know that you're in a very risky situation. The thing that concerns me really is what parents are saying. We have on rateyourschools.org an 83% rate of below average and average schools. That's terribly concerning. So I'll focus on those 3 issues and I'll get it done.
Alyssa, as an elected official, please share an example of something of which you are proud and also something that didn't work out so well.
Okay, well, I'm not an elected official yet, nor have I ever been. However, as a chamber president, I am extremely proud of a youth workforce that we're putting together. So for 8 years, I sat on senior panels as a mom at my son's schools. I had two boys. They're 23 and 19 now, and I volunteered at the school. I listened to what they asked, what kids were asking for the seniors. And every year, there were always about 3 or 4 students who did a project on, they wanted life skills because they felt like they were not prepared for the real world. This struck me. I was like, wow, okay. I got a call last September from a lady named Lizette Mahadas. She works for the school district. She's not on the board, but she works for the school district. And she invited me for coffee. She said, let's meet, I want to see how we can partner. So we met at Bellabrew, and I started talking with her, and she said, what can we do together? I said, I've got the perfect project. Let's go ahead and do a life skills course for our students. They're asking for it. They want it. So we started talking about all these different things, and we're putting together a financial literacy, money mindfulness, how to dress for success, how to write resumes, and then from there, they're going to be doing a 6-week internship program. We're rolling it out this June. I am so thankful that the school district listened to a mom who cares.
Lisa.
There's been a lot of accomplishments in 20 years, so finding just the one thing I'm proud of. But I'll say something, what we did during the pandemic. You know, we created a vaccination clinic at Natomas High School in partnership with the city that our Natomas Unified staff run, classified workers, our district office officials, our charters were volunteers, the parents and community members. It was completely community member run. But truly, honestly, something I am extremely proud of and I tout all the time because I volunteer there is in 2015, Joel Schwieger is a teacher at Natomas High School, and he had a son that passed away, and he wanted to do something in his honor to help the community. And he decided if I would back it and go to the school board, we'd create Joey's Food Locker, which would give his students the skills of understanding what it was to run a food locker, as well as benefiting the community. That was 2015. We started it once a month, feeding maybe 300 families. Then it went twice a month. We were feeding 600 families. During the pandemic, it became an official hub of the Sacramento Food Bank, and we were feeding thousands of people every week. And it is completely 100% volunteer run. Fred from our local churches and our parents and community members and Jen and Roberto are out there helping us every day. And here's the one thing I will tell you as a school board member that I still think about daily. In 2009 in January, we were budget cuts. And you're right, Nate, we were deficit spending, and I'll ask for a little bit more time on this. We were deficit spending. We could still pay our bills. And the one thing I was not able to convince my fellow school board members on, because I voted no on the budget because we weren't doing enough to stabilize this. The budget passed 4-1, and I was that no vote. And there is public record of me saying we weren't doing enough to right the ship. So yeah, I know what it's like to be a board member and actually be on the side that I couldn't get that out there. So I wish I had done more. Nate?
Yeah, looking back, over the years, one of the things that I'm most proud of is my ability to put myself through school. I'm the first person in my family to attend college, the first person to earn my associates, my bachelor's, and then my master's degree. Working multiple jobs, staying up until the break of dawn, some nights studying because I didn't have time during the day to get the job done. For many years, from moving away, finding my way in the world, and earning a degree is just, it's something that I'm incredibly proud of. I know my family tried to support me the best they possibly could, but we didn't have a lot. Didn't have 2 pennies to rub together in most instances, but I knew that that's really what I wanted to do and what would allow me to spread my wings and achieve my dreams. So put myself through school, that's really something that I'm incredibly proud of. And it actually led me to become involved in one of the fastest growing foundations in Greater Sacramento, the Stonewall Foundation. As a proud gay man, I'm a member of the Stonewall Foundation, and I help that organization raise tens of thousands of dollars every year to give to folks in my community that can't make ends meet. Tuition, books, the list goes on. They're at risk of dropping out of college, and the work that I do, along with others on the Stonewall Foundation team, we put money in their pockets and we help them stay in school. I'm incredibly proud of that, and would encourage you to take a look at the Stonewall Foundation's website and support them as well.
Robert?
Yeah, I've never been elected to any position as well, but one thing I'm extremely proud about is taking my business through the pandemic. We started our business October of 2019. We were in business for 5 months before we were shut down for a year. That wasn't fun. We received about 4 months of aid for a 12-month shutdown. Seeing that business through to where we are now makes me incredibly proud, because had we not come back, Sacramento would be sitting with an empty Crest Theater, one of our most historic buildings in the city, would be sitting empty for who knows how long. And another thing I'm proud about is when we came back, I sent out a few texts to my staff and said, hey, we're getting ready to come back, who's coming back? And we didn't have a shortage of labor. Everywhere else you heard, we can't find workers, we can't do this, we can't get enough people in. I never had that problem, because the people who work for me were excited to come back because they view me as a leader they could follow. That being said, being in the entertainment industry for 20 years, I've had several spectacular failures. I took a nightclub and thought we could do live music in it, and that didn't work out at all. And it took me a few months to go, you know what, Robert, you made the wrong call here. And let's try to transfer back, or let's try to reimagine the room to do something it can do. A lot of times in entertainment, your failures are what teaches you how to be successful, because you learn by failure.
Thank you for covering something that didn't work out so well. Okay. Alyssa. When North... Oh, I gotta skip. I'm sorry.
No, I start first. She started first last
time. Right. You see, I have this very high-tech system.
Teamwork will make it happen.
Okay. Lisa. When North Natomas was envisioned, it included a regional park described as the next land park. What needs to be done to create that vision? What's the first thing you might do to move the park forward to completion?
Well, sadly, we're not getting a zoo. That would have been phenomenal and an incredible amenity here. So we have such incredible sports and youth programs that I would really like to see the expansion and actually have, well, we have the aquatic center and it's competitive. Where's our soccer fields? Where are soccer fields that we can hold competitions? Because you know what, our kids are renting our school facilities and they weren't built to be soccer fields. So I'd like to see something that brings family members out, community members out, because we talk about we need to bring people together. And the North Natomas Regional Park, what's better to bring people together than sports? To do that, which is why I think it's so important that it's not just an I, like Natomas Unified invested in the Aquatic Center. It's something that in partnership with our community, and I know Natomas because our families want to use it and we want to make it a place that we want to have amenities to go to, but also enjoy, in partnering with Natomas Unified as well as the county, because we have to partner to get things done. In a way, because Natomas just isn't a city, it's a region. We're right next to the county. We have the airport. You know, don't you want to go, like, I'm a parent of young kids. I have a kindergartner and a third grader. You know what I would love? Maybe not at the park, but a place that I can hold really big birthday parties instead of driving out to Roseville or West Sac. I know family members would love places that we could go with our families. And so a soccer field and other amenities is something that I'd like to see.
Nate?
Yeah, thank you. You know, as somebody who was born and raised in the very cold Midwest from Michigan, and you know, one of the first things I realized when I moved out to California was the wonderful weather that we have through most of the year. It's just it's a blessing, and I'm very grateful to not have picked up a snow shovel in years. And I think that's really a wonderful thing that we have to embrace more here in Sacramento. And one of the ways that we can do that is by building more sports facilities at Natomas Regional Park. And it's what the community's telling me, and it's what I've been wanting for a long time. And it's really nice as I walk out and knock on doors and meet people and hear what they want is they do want more soccer fields. We've got a lot of soccer fields in Natomas now, but they're spread out. It would be nice to consolidate those into one area so that families can get together and we can invite regional competitions to join us, statewide competitions to join us. That's what the community wants. So that's something I would focus on. The community is also asking for other sports amenities like cycling facilities, pickleball facilities. That's one of my favorite new sports. You know, we don't really have those types of amenities in Sacramento. And just like with the restaurant scene and the entertainment scene in Natomas, there's a lot of work to be done on that front, but there's also a lot of work to be done on the family fun scene. And I think that by implementing some of these sports facilities, we'll really get to where we need to be in providing for the community's needs and wants. Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, I think one thing important when we're talking about the park system and what we should do at parks is make sure we're not doing anything half as good as we should to mark it off a list. I live right across the street from Regency Park. Regency Park has a Frisbee golf course. I also work with two guys who do Frisbee golf. They've never played there. They have no interest in playing there because there's nothing exciting about the course. There's just a net right in front of them that they're supposed to throw these Frisbees to. So they drive out to Cameron Park. They'd rather drive out to Cameron Park to play this sport instead of coming to Natomas, because what happened at that park is we put in this Frisbee golf park that was done halfway. They put it in and went, okay, we have that now, let's check that off. So if we are talking about putting in soccer facilities, baseball facilities, basketball courts, whatever it is, we need to make sure that we're putting in the type of facilities that people want to come to so they don't sit empty every day. Because an empty baseball field isn't worth building. So we need to make sure if we are going to put these things in place that we are spending the money and the time to make sure we're putting in top quality facilities that people would like to go to.
Alyssa?
Thank you. So I played soccer since I was 5 years old, and I coached it, and so that is definitely something that is near and dear to me. In fact, I went to our North Natomas Soccer FA tournament that they just recently had in Rio Linda at Cherry Island, because we don't have one here. They had 92 teams that joined them that weekend from all over Northern California. We're talking about an economic driver here for our community. Our businesses, the restaurants, they deserve that. Our hotels, they deserve that. So I will fight to get that put in there at Regional Park. Not to mention the pond that we have there. How about stocking the lake and hosting a little derby for the kids? A fishing derby. That's something that I've seen before, but I haven't seen it in a while. So that's something that I would fight for. Not to mention the sheep and the goats. I'm in awe over that. When I was raised, I lived across, all of this was fields. This was all fields. I lived on Sorrento Road in Valley View Acres. I could literally see all the way out to the airport, but I saw I would ride my horses out there, but I also saw the sheep and the cows and that. So Lisa, we might not get the zoo, but maybe we can keep in a certain portion of that park, we can keep those farm animals, because I've seen the families group around already to go and show their kids that. That's a dream that I had. That is what I saw as a little girl, and I would love for our kids to be able to see that as well. Thank you.
Nate. The city has been trying to address homelessness and the unhoused for some time. What is one solution currently being implemented that you support or oppose, and what's your plan to tackle the issue specifically in District 1?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this is one of our city's biggest issues, and it's actually an issue that's personal to me for a couple different reasons. One, my uncle, when I was growing up, was schizophrenic and was unhoused for a number of years, and my family wasn't in a position to help. And I know the services that he needed, he finally got, but it was like pulling teeth to get them from the city. During December, I had an unhoused person living behind my house. I live over in Westlake, and I live right on the edge of the development, and I had somebody on the opposite side of the wall living for 2 nights in the bushes, and that is unacceptable. Barking at my dogs, throwing garbage over the wall, that person clearly needed help. I called the city, and that person disappeared a couple days later. But it's testament that we don't have the services that we need to get these people back up on their feet. And one bright ray of sunshine really are these hotel conversion projects that the city is now implementing across the city. We're doing one over here, the Spring Hill Suites conversion project. It provides stable housing for women and their families that are victims of domestic abuse. So this is a wonderful audience to help. But it also provides them with wraparound services, and that's the critical point. We need to make sure that we provide housing and the services they need to get back up on their feet. Jobs training, interviewing skills, whatever it takes for their unique needs to be provided to them so that they can become self-sufficient again and re-enter our community. So that's the proposal that I would push forward with. We know it's worked elsewhere, it's working here. Let's do more of it.
Robert?
Yeah, homelessness touches us all, and where I'm at, right there in the middle of K Street, right next to Cesar Chavez Park, I see the worst of it. We need to get the people who need help, the help they need. And then we also need to look at other folks and say, there's a level to being part of a community that you need to hold up your end to. We need to stop tolerating people just walking out into the middle of the streets that aren't schizophrenic. They just don't follow the laws. And there's no one down there telling them, hey, you can't smoke crack right here. Because I see it. I see it daily. And this is one of the reasons I'm running for city council, because I'm tired of talking to police officers down there and having them kind of go, I don't know what do you want us to do? And the answer is, if I were to go downtown right now and set up a tent in Cesar Chavez Park and then put a couch out there, somebody would come by and tell me not to do that. So why would that happen to me but not happen to others? There an inevitability. People think it's inevitable that we have to live like this. But one of the things about my business is I meet people from around the world that travel the world, and they tell me that Sacramento is the filthiest city they come to. Sacramento, the place I've lived my entire life, where I was born and raised, is the filthiest city that they visit. And it breaks my heart, and we don't have to live like this. There are a lot of pimps, drug dealers down there. The people who need the help, the addicts, the mentally ill, we need to get them the resources. But there's a lot of folks down there that are just down there taking advantage of those people, and we need to get those people off the streets.
Alyssa?
Yes. This is very personal to me. My cousin was homeless for 6 years, and the last time I spoke with her, she asked me for $200, and I said no, because I knew that she was on drugs. And it was within 10 months that I received a call, and she had died. She was 27 days away from her 42nd birthday. But the problem was she was in denial. She was in denial. We're crossing a line between helping people and enabling people. If my cousin got the help and was required to go to get help for her addiction, she would probably still be living today. It's concerning to me. I think as a city, we can do better. I know we can. But it's going to take cooperation from the county. And it's also, I was at a meeting last night. I was very impressed with our DA's office. Our DA's office, we need to call together and have a summit, of all of these partnerships that we can have. Not to mention our faith-based organizations. I spent 18 weeks last year going out and serving our homeless. We took them food, we took them clothes, we took Fleet Feet gave us shoes to give. But it comes down to the services. We can provide places for them to go, but at the end of the day, it's not about that. If we don't start addressing the root issues, which is substance abuse and mental health issues, then it's not going to get better. So we have to find a way that we can all work together to provide full wraparound services. And I don't know if I should have enough more time. Do you want to allow more time? Yeah, I think so. I will tell you this, that Natomas District 1 is going to need a site because we're losing our site, and they're going to require every district to have a site. I have identified a site. I would say the city needs to use the Nacy Yard over there off of Del Paso and Kenmar. She's looking at me. I don't want to piss her off.
Just another 15 seconds.
So I don't know if you read it in SACB or not, but I have a site that's proposed. The city is already paying for that site. They have tiny homes and they have trailers there for services. It won't cost much more money. We have all that we can, the city can provide. And so if we can use those and just get the county to help provide resources, that would be good. Thank you.
Lisa?
I think this is a question we all care about because homelessness is a personal issue, it's a crisis, it's a humanitarian crisis, but it also affects our families, our businesses. And so Nate and Alyssa are right, the hotel conversion is one step in the right thing, but guess what? Well, it's really important for women escaping violent, and that's for women and children escaping violent environments. What about our families? As a school board member, I'm responsible for knowing what is going on and where our homeless children are. So as board president in December of 2020 when the pandemic hit, I went to my superintendent and I said, I kind of have a crazy idea. Will you run with it and can we make sure it's legal? We did a GoFundMe and our community helped us raise $35,000. And for 10 weeks, we housed 25 students and their families at a hotel, a week-long stay hotel. We provided them counseling services, job services. We coordinated with the city. We coordinated with the county to help get our homeless families out of their cars and into permanent stability housing. That is something that is so passionate. How do we change things? How do we change a child's future? Give them stable housing, because otherwise they'll touch our criminal justice system and then we're gonna see them on the streets. And it's right, with our mental health and our drug addiction, the state has gotta step in. It is not the responsibility for us to $40 million every year. City of Sacramento is gonna go broke because right now we're spending $40 million a year on this. And the governor needs to step up on care court, but we need the city and the county and the state and the feds to provide the services so that we can address it, so the city of Sacramento isn't going broke to address homelessness. Thank you.
Robert, your question. We just have 2 more questions. What are your priorities for transportation connectivity in District 1, such as bike trails, pedestrian crossings over I-5, and the Green Line to the airport? And how would you propose funding these projects so they can progress?
Yeah, so I recently got a e-bike to take to and from work, and I bought it. My wife dropped me off over at Mike's Bikes, and I picked it up and went to work from there. And then that night came home, and the bike trails, as we've discussed tonight, are wonderful but not connected. And as someone who's never used them prior to that, it got a little weird trying to get from downtown Sacramento to my home right down the street. So one thing that we need to do is create, when you come up to the end of this trail and it starts on the other side of the road, sometimes it starts here, sometimes it starts down there, and it doesn't tell you where the new trail is. And we could either build them over the streets, which is a little bit of a out of box thinking, or at least put signs up that say the trail continues down over here, so that someone like me who's never done it doesn't think the task is so daunting, because it's not that hard, it's not that far to get to downtown, to get to other places. And more people should be on their bikes because, again, we have this great weather, we have this great park system, we have this great community that people can go out and explore on their bikes if we make it accessible and easily understandable for them.
Lisa?
Yes, so I love what Jive has to offer our communities. Jive, I'd like to have a more meaningful conversation with regards to what they provide and see if we could expand their services out. I think that's a great service that our community provides, and I would like to I'd be obviously a champion behind that. Our bike trails definitely need work, and until we address the homelessness, though, unfortunately, there's a lot of our constituents that do not want to ride the bikes because they're being attacked by dogs. So I am all for that, but at the end of the day, we also need to go back to making sure that our bike trails are safe, and that we address that issue also. So I won't take up all the time on this one, but Jive, I would say we need to expand those services the most.
Lisa?
So when I bought my house in 2001, it was still District 1, but it was South Natomas. And I was a little bit, strapped for cash. So I used to ride my bike to work every day, but I would ride it over Garden Highway to that little construction unit, take Discovery Park in, and it was safe. I would ride at 6 in the morning. I would ride when it was dark. We need to do that and recreate that while addressing homelessness and safety. We need to connect our bike paths because we need our kids to get outside. This is a great area to do that. But here's the thing. Since 2005, I've lived on the west side of the freeway. I'm not riding my bike over the freeway. How do we connect Natomas to make it feel connected? I'm never going to allow my kids, if they go to Intercom High School, to ride their bike to school. I want to tell them to ride their bike, but guess what? I've been to a couple funerals of kids hit and killed walking over the freeway, and that is never acceptable, and that has to be changed. And for the Green Line and Transit, I moved here in 1997, and it's been discussed ever since when they were going to take houses off of Truxell. Now in the North Lake community, they have space for the Green Line, but guess what? On the North Natomas Community Master Plan that's set along spaces, half of those parcels have disappeared. So how do we do that? So funding actually is going to come from our new congressman, Congressman Vera, who represents this area since Matsui was done. And he's come out and he's seen our programs in Natomas, and I've talked to him about things that we need. And one of them is, to get that funding, is we need help from the federal government to realize that we've got to connect the airport to downtown, whatever the best way possible it is, but we need our congressional members to support us with the federal funding. Thank you.
Nate?
Yeah, this is a really good question. The reason why is because the development out here in Natomas, because we're only partially built out, it's disjointed. We simply don't have the infrastructure that we need so that cyclists can cycle around Natomas safely. You know, I've taken my bike to the grocery store a couple times, and each time I'm taking my life into my own hands. I've nearly been driven off the road by vehicles flying past me as I'm on the bike path. We just don't have the infrastructure we need to ensure that people can get around town, not just ride downtown to work, but just ride around Natomas so that the kids can ride to school in a safe way. So that's one of the things I would certainly change, is to further build out the infrastructure so that folks can take advantage of this beautiful area. They can get to the parks, they can get to the sports complexes in a safe way. This is very important. I also mentioned I'm married to a civil engineer, and he focuses on transportation issues. I'm very proud of this guy. He's one of the lead designers on the high-speed rail project, so he's an expert in this field, and we've commented many, many times about the need for light rail between downtown and the airport. And I will mention this, as a numbers guy, I've done a lot of research, and I've studied the numbers, and I've seen that those cities that have connections, light rail connections between the airport and downtown, have 3 to 5% greater economic output in regards to conventions and the supporting industry. So that's something we need to do. It's something that'll pay for itself, and it's something that'll make the quality of life higher in District 1, and it'll make the quality of life region-wide better because of the higher economic output. So yeah, this is very important. Thank you.
Alyssa? This is the last question before we go to some quick closing remarks. I'm sure you guys are ready. Can you share a specific example of a time when you've had to resolve a major issue, and I think this is important, that affected the community at large? What was your contribution? And most importantly, how did you collaborate with others to find a solution?
Yeah. So the last 2.5 years have been extremely hard on our small local businesses. And as the chamber president, you know, I have been a big champion to advocate for state and federal resources. That's been huge for us. And, you know, I host every month a meeting of the minds where I pull in local leaders and business owners to talk about issues that they're having or events that they, you know, need to have. So I'm very proud of the fact that we didn't have a lot of businesses close in Natomas. We've had some, but not a lot. And I would say that as a chamber, you know, we helped with that. But also, you know, we had businesses open, and I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to help introduce and do ribbon cutting ceremonies for those businesses and introduce them to the community. Those are all things that we need to do, and we need to do more of. You know, we need to partner together with our elected official, with the council. I will partner with the chamber to make sure that we're introducing businesses, so that way, you know, we can truly have them and introduce them to the community, so that way we can support our small local businesses. Thank you.
Lisa?
The construction of Paso Verde School. Paso Verde sits on county land, but is right next to the city lines. We had to work through very contentious issues on water, infrastructure, disagreements between city elected officials, county elected officials, the airport, who made us redesign how the site was going to sit several times, as well as environmental concerns because it's right next to the Natomas Basin. So how did we solve that? We brought everybody together. Our staff is amazing in Natomas, and they came to us as a board, and as a board, we started meeting with the elected officials to talk to them about why it's important that on the west side of the freeway, we really needed to build a school that now houses 850 students. Now, I might be slightly biased because my kids go to that school, but we've owned that land for 15 years, and finally was a time to build it. But it took an extraordinary amount of effort and time, because normally building schools is about a 3-year process. This was a 5-year process, and the kids were in portables on 3 acres, over 500 kids. So we knew we had to solve this problem because our kids deserve to have parks and deserve to have open space and not learn in portable classrooms. But I was able to help lead and collaborate between city and county who didn't agree, who the airport never wanted to see this happen, and environmentalists, where we actually set aside 20 acres for environmental open space to make this happen. And it is a beautiful school that we opened a month after the pandemic lifted and we could get our kids back in school.
Nate?
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. So I don't know how many of you know this, but I help run an environmental nonprofit. So climate change and environmental improvement, keeping our water clean and our air safe to consume really is at the top of my mind at all times. My role there is financial accountability manager and project manager. So what I do is I find difficult to manage products, oftentimes toxic products that cost ratepayers a fortune to dispose of, and I find ways to either have the manufacturers redesign the products so that they're non-toxic and easy to dispose, or we find more ecologically sound ways to get rid of these things and to get them financially off the shoulders of the ratepayers. So I'm very proud of that work because it keeps our air clean and it keeps our tax bills low. One of the most recent things I've worked on is work to make safe disposal med bins throughout the state. In fact, I've worked incredibly hard on this, and I've placed over 250 med bins across the state of California so that you have places to take your unwanted prescription drugs when you no longer need them. And it's important to get them out of the cupboards and to get them out of the hands of young children. There's just too much risk involved. And I'm very, very proud to share with you that we have 2 of these med bins located specifically in District 1. At the Natomas Pharmacy and a new pharmacy that just opened up by Sprouts. So we have 2 safe disposal med bins there. So if anybody has any unwanted medications, you can take them there. This is the best way to get rid of them, and it's definitely an amenity for our community. I'm very proud to push policy at a statewide and local level to make sure that our air is clean and our water is safe to consume. Thank you.
Robert?
Is there a way you could read the question again, please?
Yeah, no problem. Can you share a specific example of a time you've had to resolve a major issue that affected the community at large? And what was your contribution? Most importantly, how did you collaborate with others to find the solution?
The Press Theater is it's an anchor business. It feeds the other businesses around us. And when we were closed down, I talked to the bookstore owner who was the only business that stayed open the entire time. They were great. They still are. And one of the businesses near us went under, and they were a coffee shop and they had all this coffee equipment, and the bookstore said, we are interested in taking over that spot, but we don't have the equipment. So we bought the equipment. We held on to it for 8 months, and then when they were ready to open, we gave it to them. We said, here, open this up because it's 1 block away from where we are. That's what I do. When I leave here, I'm going to work. There's going to be 2 tour managers, a lighting guy, a sound guy, a security advisor, my staff alone. Every day we put on an event, I have to deal with 20 different personalities, and they're always different every day. What I'm very proud of is that I'm able to bring that and bring people down to downtown Sacramento to have a good time and help the businesses around me to stay open, to also give those people an option on what they can do.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to closing remarks, and we're going to reverse the order. So we'll begin with you, Alyssa.
Okay. So it's been 11 years, or you know what? How How much time do we have?
1 minute.
Okay. So, all right. Start my time over, right? Okay, perfect. All right. So, it's been 11 years since we've elected a new council member. Local government is truly where we can get things done. It's special because it's about the people. And as long as the seat and the person in that seat makes it about them. I'm not a politician. And this is not a political stepping stone for me. This is my home. I am rooted in this community. I am not riding anyone's coattails, and I don't have anyone's hand in my pocket. I am here for you guys. I have an open door policy, and I pledge to you that if you have any ideas or concerns about our community, I will sit and listen to you. I believe in our community wholeheartedly. We will grow and we will thrive together. Vote for Lozano. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Alvis.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I'd like to thank the folks up here with me. It takes a lot of gumption to run for office. It's not something that's easy to do. It's hard to go to houses and listen to people tell you what they want changed, because it's not always the same, and you have to be able to talk to a lot of people. I am short on experience with the government. I think that's pretty obvious to anyone who's here. But what I'm long on is success. From my first job as a before and after school care teacher to my current job as a business owner. I started at Harlow's as the host at the door, and I ended up as the assistant general manager. At every place I've gone in my life, from the Sacramento Bee to the animal rescue I worked at in Rockland, from the time I come into the business till the time I leave, people look to me for leadership. And what I'm hoping to do is bring that to the city council and lead from a position where I know I'm outnumbered by the people who are there. There's no questions. I am not the candidate of the status quo, and I don't want to be. So if you're the voter who doesn't want the status quo, please consider voting for me.
Thank you. Dave Pelczar.
Well, thanks again to Natomas Buzz and the League of Women Voters. Very grateful to have this opportunity to see you and to answer some very important questions about the issues that our city and district are facing now. You know, we've been very fortunate to have very strong leadership in District 1, somebody fighting for us at City Hall for a long time. She helped build a real community with wonderful programming, with great opportunities for folks to get involved and really to add value. I'm extremely grateful to have the strong support and endorsement of Vice Mayor Angela Gashby. We're really here because we all share the same values. We really want strong leadership, which I pledge to continue at City Hall. We want somebody with the right skills and abilities. I believe my background with auditing and financial management and project management is really what we need now. None of us are Angela Gashby. What we need is something a little bit different now because the needs of District 1 have changed. I am the right leader at the right time for the next chapter, and I would love to represent you, and I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lisa Kaplan.
Again, thank you everyone who's here tonight and those watching online. I really appreciate it. So I've spent 20 years as a public servant. Many people may not know, but we make $400 a month as a school board member. Definitely not doing it to get rich, but that's where I run my own business that affords me the ability to give back my heart. My heart is about investing in our community, and you don't spend 20 years as a school board member if you're not invested in the community and you love what you do. And that's what I'm doing, is running for city council, because I love our community and I want to continue investing and using my experience of having gotten things done. Right now is not a time that you've heard a lot of people talk about what they're going to do. I'm the only one sitting up here who's been an elected official who's gotten positive results and gotten things done. And that's what I'll do as a councilwoman. I have a track record of doing that. As an attorney, my job is to solve difficult issues. As a school board member, it is to address and take care of our most precious individuals, our children. And as your council member, I would be honored if you would vote me in to be the next councilwoman representing District 1. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would really, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, really want to thank all of you for running for office. As Robert said, it's not easy, and it's a real wonderful give back to the community. So, and then being here and answering all these questions. It's really been great. I think it's been really informative for District 1. I'll just say that for those of you, hopefully you're all voters and you're all registered. If not, there's some voter registration forms there. If your signature has changed, or you moved, or you changed your name, your ballots are going to go out on May 9th, and the election is June 7th. And you have 3 ways to cast your ballot. You probably know, because Sacramento was one of the first counties to adopt the Voters' Choice Act, which makes it really easy for us to either return your ballot by mail, or you can put it in a drop box. Is your Heritage facility a drop box? Do you know? No. What was your drop box last time? Rayleigh's. Okay, well that's a good one. Oh, right. All the county libraries are drop boxes, so that's another. And those are very secure ways to cast your ballot. And of course, you can vote in person as well at a vote center. So, be sure and vote. It's June 7th. Thank you all.